start, you're going to need a regular domestic sewing machine, and we're using a Singer heavy duty. You're going to need your fabric, and we're going to be using 2 different types of fabric for this video. And this is a flannel printed blanket fleece, and then we're also going to be using a orange regular sweatshirt fleece. And you can find both of these at any standard fabric store. Next, you're going to need your pattern, and this pattern is available at properfitclothing.com. It is super easy to use. All you have to do is download it, print it off, and you're ready to go. Once you have your pattern, go ahead and cut it out on the outside of the black line and then tape it together. The first step is taking your pattern, placing it on the fold of the fabric, tracing around it, and then cutting it out. And make sure when you're working on the folded edge, you're only cutting to the point that is indicated on the pattern. And when you have it unfolded, it should look identical on both top and bottom. Then go ahead and fold it in half with right sides together because you're going to be sewing off the edge on the opposite side of the fold. Take it to your machine and go ahead and sew from point to point. And you can go ahead and use a straight stitch for this because you're going to be sewing opposite of the stretch so the thread will not break. And we also recommend about a 1/4 inch seam allowance for this pattern. And then once you have that side sewn together, go ahead and pull the right side out, and then you're gonna push half of that right side back in over itself. It's kind of similar to doing a cuff. You're just trying to fold it back in over itself so that the tops line up. So go ahead, work with it, play with the fabric a little bit, make sure it's nice and flat and halfway folded and that all the peaks line up at the top. And once you have them all nice and lined up, go ahead and take the peaks that are opposite of the side that has a seam on it, line them up with right sides together, and then go ahead and do a stitch across that edge. And keep in mind you're doing a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And when you get towards the bottom, kind of taper off in towards the hat, making that edge nice and flush. And this will prevent edges from poking out on the top. Next, you want to take that opening, place the right sides together, and sew across that entire top. And this is going to seal off that entire top. And also make sure you taper at the beginning and the end of this stitch. Then go ahead and flip your beanie right side out, and you can pick kind of where you want that fold to be in the front. And that is how you make your single color beanie. And then the next, we're going to show you how to make a 2-tone beanie and then also add a palm onto it. And then real quick before we jump into the next one, we're going to show you one made out of ribbing. And ribbing is the standard fabric used to make these beanies. It's just very stretchy, and it's the standard fabric used to make these beanies. So definitely look for that if you can, but we're just showing you that you can pretty much use any stretchy fabric to make these beanies because ribbing is super hard to come by in cool printed patterns. So go ahead, start out the same way, place your pattern on the fold, but only trace down a 1/4 inch past the halfway mark. Make this mark on both sides and then go ahead and cut it out. Then find another fabric that you want to use and go ahead and do the same thing on the other fabric. So you're going to end up with 2 identical pieces, but they're both out of different fabrics. So now that you have your 2 pieces together, go ahead and place the right sides together, and you're going to sew that bottom edge. And since you're going with the stretch, you're going to want to use a zigzag stitch. Or if you have a serger, go ahead and use a serger. Next, you're going to want to go ahead and fold it in half vertically, line up the middles. That's key about this part, lining up those middles. Then go ahead and sew that entire edge from peak to peak that's opposite of the fold. And since you're going opposite of the stretch, you can go ahead and switch it back to a straight stitch. And keep in mind, you want those middles to be lined up, so just be cautious as you're sewing. And then just like before, go ahead and pull that right side out and then fold half of it back in on itself. And then this is where you're going to kind of have to make the decision what side you want on the inside and fold it over, and then what side you want on the outside. And it's totally up to you. You can switch it in or out, but in the end, it's only going to be one way because you're sewing it on the inside. And there definitely is a way to make these reversible. And if you guys would like to see that, let us know. Maybe we'll make another video on it. But for this video, we're just going to show you how to do it one way. So once you decided what side you want on the inside and what side you want on the outside, go ahead and take the peaks opposite of the side you already sewn together, place the right sides together, and go ahead and stitch that edge. And the biggest key is just keeping all those layers together and lined up. Then go ahead, place the right sides together for the big opening and sew all the way across. If you want to see how to add a palm on, stop right here and go ahead, because we're just going to sew this off just like a standard one. But if you jump a little bit ahead, we show you how to add a palm on before you complete this step. So if you're looking to add a palm, it's easier to add it before you actually sew it together. But this is also kind of including if you have already a beanie that you want to add one to. We're going to kind of show you how to add it into a beanie that's already sewn together. So go ahead and find the bottom area of that palm and then grab some of those threads, because you're going to be sewing those threads in with the stitch. And this is just one way to do it with the machine. You can totally just hand sew this in and be done with it, but we're going to show you a little trick on how to use the machine to attach this. And we already went ahead and dethreaded that middle section, and you only need to dethread about 2 inches to add that palm in. But if you didn't already sew this area together, you can go ahead and grab that palm by the bottom thread and just pull those up through that center hole. Pull those as far as you can through, because you're going to want that palm nice and tight towards the top of the hat. So once you have them pulled through, go ahead and sew across that top edge, sealing it all closed. And there you have it. It's that simple, just to add a palm onto any hat you have, or to add it onto the one you're already making. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment. Let us know what you think. If you have any ideas, send them our way. We'll be sure to make a video of it, and we'll see you next time.